Hey kids, in this story God establishes a festival called the Passover. This happened about 3,500 years ago, but it's so important to the Jewish people that they still celebrate it today throughout the world. Listen carefully, for this is an important story. Now the Lord said to Moses, "One more plague I will bring on Pharaoh and on Egypt, and after that he will let you go out from here. Now when he lets you go out, he will surely drive you out from here completely. So speak to the people and tell them that each person should ask his neighbor for articles of silver and articles of gold." And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Furthermore, the man Moses was himself greatly esteemed in the land of Egypt, both in the sight of Pharaoh's servants and in the sight of the people. And Moses said to Pharaoh, "Thus says the Lord, about midnight I am going into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of the Pharaoh who sits on his throne, even to the firstborn of the slave girl who is behind the millstones, all the firstborn of the cattle as well. Moreover, there shall be a great cry in all the land of Egypt, such as there has not been before, and such as shall never be again. But against any of the sons of Israel a dog will not even bark, whether against man or beast, that you may understand how the Lord makes a distinction between Egypt and Israel. All your servants will come and bow down before me and say, 'Get out, you and all your people, and after that I will go out.' Then he went out from Pharaoh in hot anger, and the Lord said to Moses, 'Pharaoh will not listen to you, so that my wonders will be multiplied in the land of Egypt.' Now the Lord said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, 'This month shall be the beginning of months for you. It is to be the first month of the year to you. So speak to all the congregation of Israel, saying, on the 10th day of this month, each one of you is to take a lamb for themselves, a lamb for each household. But if the household is too small for the lamb, then he and his neighbor nearest to him are to take one lamb according to the number of people and what each man should eat. You are to divide the lamb. Your lamb shall be a year-old male with no blemishes on it. It may be a sheep or a goat. You shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month. Then the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel is to kill it at twilight. Then they shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts and on the lintel of the houses in which they eat it. Then they shall eat it the same night, roasted with fire, and they shall eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. And they shall not leave any of it over until morning, but whatever is left of it until morning you shall burn with fire. Now you shall eat it in this manner. You are to be dressed and ready to travel. Your sandals shall be on your feet and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in a hurry. It is the Lord's Passover. For I will go through the land of Egypt on that night, and will strike down all the firstborn men and beasts in the land of Egypt, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments. I am the Lord. The blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you live. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and no plague will fall on you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. Now this day will be a memorial to you, and you shall celebrate it as a feast to the Lord. Throughout your generations you are to celebrate it permanently. You shall also observe the feast of unleavened bread, for on this very day I brought your hosts out of the land of Egypt, Therefore you shall observe this day throughout your generations permanently. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at evening, you shall eat unleavened bread for 7 days until the 21st day of the month at evening. But on the first day you shall remove leaven from your houses. 7 days there shall be no leaven found in your houses. For whoever eats what is leavened, that person shall be cut off from Israel, whether he is an alien or a native of the land. Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said to them, Go and take for yourselves lambs according to your families, and slay the Passover lamb. You shall take a bunch of hyssop, and dip it in the blood which is in the basin, and apply some of that blood that is in the basin to the lintel and to the 2 doorposts, and none of you shall go outside the door of his house until the morning. For the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians, and when he sees the blood on the lintel and on the 2 doorposts, the Lord will pass over the door and will not allow the destroyer to come into your house to smite you. Now when you enter the land which the Lord will give to you as he promised, you shall observe this rite. And when your children say to you, What does this rite mean to you? You shall say, It is a Passover sacrifice to the Lord, who passed over the houses of the sons of Israel in Egypt when he smote the Egyptians, but spared our homes. And the people bowed low and worshipped. Now it came about at midnight that the Lord struck all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sat on his throne, to the firstborn of the captive who was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the cattle. And Pharaoh arose in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was no home where there was not someone dead. Then he called for Moses and Aaron at night and said, Rise up and get out from among my people, both you and the sons of Israel, and go and worship the Lord as you have said. Take both your flocks and your herds, just as you said, and go and bless me also. The Egyptians urged the people to send them out of the land in haste, for they said, We will all be dead. So the people took their dough before it was leavened, with their kneading bowls bound up in their clothes on their shoulders. Now the sons of Israel had done according to the word of Moses, for they had requested from the Egyptians articles of silver and articles of gold and clothing, and the Lord had given the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they let them have their requests. Thus they plundered the Egyptians. Now the sons of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 men on foot, aside from children. And a mixed multitude also went up with them, along with flocks and herds, and a very large number of livestock. And they baked the dough which they had brought out of Egypt into cakes of unleavened bread, for it had not become leavened since they were driven out of Egypt, and could not delay, nor had they prepared any provisions for themselves. Now the time that the sons of Israel lived in Egypt was 430 years to the very day, and all the hosts of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt. Well, kids, this is a night to be observed for the Lord, for having brought them out from the land of Egypt. This is the ordinance of the Passover.